So if you could say your name and organization.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Timmer. I'm the Executive Director of One Earth, a nonprofit based in Canada.
Great. So can you tell us a little bit about One Earth? What kind of research or public outreach, education, teaching you do?
So we set up One Earth about 10 years ago to focus on consumption and production patterns, mostly because we were just really interested in how to take a more systems approach to particularly the environmental challenges we could see all around us, but also the social and particularly the inequality challenges that are facing our society. So it was really an organization that came together to catalyze a systems approach to a lot of those challenges.
So can you talk a little bit more about those challenges? How do you see that affecting the field of sustainable consumption in general?
Yeah, so I think that, oftentimes when we think about sustainable consumption, people think about individual purchases, or they talk about kind of making people feel guilty about, just buying things differently and just keeping track of that. And I think that actually doesn't even get at the great potential that's in the sustainable consumption field. At One Earth, we're much more interested in envisioning different ways of being human on this planet and moving away from the consumer society to take a much richer understanding of thriving and flourishing. And how that then relates to consumption is that we can think about how are we getting our basic needs met, as opposed to thinking about the objects themselves. How are we creating our identities and communicating that to others, and being in social conversation with other people about who we are, and most importantly, how do we create the structures that create good lives?
Do you want to talk a little bit about USDN and your involvement in that and that kind of initiative?
Yeah. So for the last 4 years, what's been really exciting is that we've been collaborating on sustainable consumption with cities, particularly in North America, but also globally. And one particular network that we're collaborating with is the Urban Sustainability Directors Network, which is a peer-to-peer network of 130 cities in Canada and the United States that work on urban sustainability and kind of help each other to be innovative around sustainability. And most recently, in the last 3 years, the cities have been very interested in how to take action on sustainable consumption. And so we've had the great pleasure of partnering with the Urban Sustainability Directors Network on sustainable consumption with ScoreEye, with One Earth, and with other partners to try and figure out what are the most promising pilots that cities, and how could local governments really support sustainable consumption.
That's great. Do you want to talk about your experience at this conference?
Yeah, I just found the conference, the ScoreEye 2016 conference, to just be filled with open, warm, intelligent, curious people. It was just a pleasure. Every conversation I would have, I would gain a new lens, a new vision of what sustainable consumption is about and how the field is expanding and growing. And particularly, I was really interested in how people are starting to really incorporate a broader understanding of how social inequality fits with sustainable consumption, how we can use sustainable consumption research to explore issues of power, inequity, and justice. And I think there's a lot of conversation also about sustainable consumption in cities, the role of cities, and most importantly about how do we create a larger narrative about and how to frame and communicate the idea of sustainable consumption.
That's great. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just was, for me at the conference, one of the biggest aha moments came when Jorgos, is that right? Jorgos, okay. Jorgos, okay. So one of the big moments happened for me during Jorgos's keynote speech. I had a big aha moment because he really spoke about how the economy is currently framed as if it's all focused on scarcity, when in fact, really it's about how do we most effectively allocate the excesses beyond meeting our basic needs. So when we come to the economy from a perspective of abundance, and that societies get defined by how they use that abundance and how they might limit their own actions within ecological limits and social limits, but also the sense that abundance could be something that can be celebrated through the economy as opposed to this perception of scarcity. So I thought that was just brilliant.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yay.